Hey YouTube, Dawson Writer here, coming at you with my penultimate review, or my review of the penultimate episode issue. Well, I'm really off to a cracking start for this one, guys. Hey YouTube, Dawson Writer here. Welcome to my review for the penultimate issue of the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers TMNT crossover comic 2, The Streets, or The Sewers. And again, you're gonna hear a lot of the same repeated points. So if you've seen any of my other reviews, you can probably just leave, because I have the same opinions. It's been good, the story is simple, but it's the interactions and interweaving of the universe that make this so good. However, there are two significant debuts in this, obviously the Dimension X Rangers, as well as a special Megazord at the end. But let's break it down. I mean, not like such a breakdown like every frame, because that would be, I'm not gonna do it. What was I talking about? Oh yes, so King Ogers. So let's get started for real, guys. Let's stop goofing around, Dawson. Anyway, again, I'm weird in this one. We have a couple different things going on in this issue. Where we left off, we had Shredder and the Turtles heading to Dimension X, and that's where we follow them. So let's talk about that first. The beginning of the issue honestly just feels like you're reading a TMNT comic. I mean, you are, but like just a TMNT comic, because it's just the core 5 TMNT characters, you know, the 4 turtles and the villain interacting. So it's like, if you didn't know better, you would think you were just reading a regular TMNT comic, because everything about those first few panels is just all TMNT. TMNT characters, TMNT dimension. But it's a nice scene. You know, it's a very classic scene where they are kind of interacting in a funny way. You know, you have stuff like, I don't remember which one of them would said it to Raph, but they said like, oh, this place smells like Raph's mask. And he's like, why are you sniffing my mask, bro? And they're just kind of talking to Shredder about like, oh, why do you always want to rule the earth like all the other sickos? And he's like, at least I'm not like you, saving people for love. And he's like, I want people to be afraid of how much they love me. Basically, it almost feels like a crash course in TMNT if you didn't know the characters' general dynamics and personalities. But the point is they finally do end up getting to the base, where they've been having like this fob or whatever that takes them to the main base, where they find Karai. I almost forgot about her, who was taken back with Casey, and I guess she was offered the chance to become a ranger, but she didn't do it out of loyalty to Shredder. This is where they find the Dimension X Morphers, though, and they get like reawakened due to the thing they have with them or some such nonsense or whatever. It doesn't matter. They even like address like, oh, how is these working now? But they transform into the Dimension X Rangers, which are the turtle versions of the Ranger X costumes, which unfortunately were not leaked, but they were shown a long time ago, because comics love to deliver their biggest twists in press releases. Like, imagine if Star Wars was a comic. 3 months before Empire Strikes Back, they'd be like, this just in, Vader's Luke's father, IGN.com. That's probably what happened. But I wish this had been saved for a surprise. We do thankfully get kind of a smaller surprise at the end with the Megazord, and I hope that there's something in the next issue as well. But I would have been cool for this to have been a surprise. Yeah, I said surprise so many times, it's like the new personality, even if it's something that would have been expected. But bottom line is, I love these suits. I think they're fantastic. I do agree with people that I wish there was a little more differentiation in the helmets and stuff, kind of like the Omegas. But setting that aside, I do love the suits a lot. They're slick, they're awesome, they fit. I love the unique color scheme that the turtles bring. I just love the concept of Dimension X having their morphers. Other than just wishing the helmets maybe had some more differentiation, I love everything about the suits. It's really cool to see. They also fight like a rogues gallery of MMPR's main monsters. It's funny because a couple issues ago I mentioned how it's funny that TMNT does have a bigger rogues gallery of villains and characters to draw from, whereas MMPR, in terms of main villains and recognizable villains for PR at large, it's primarily just, you know, Rita, Zed, Goldar, and then their lackeys. You know, there are some memorable monsters though, so they go ahead and take advantage of that. And obviously it wouldn't have made a lot of sense to include a gallery of random notable villains from PR history, since this is MMPR TMNT related. But it was cool to see. While that's going on, oh, also, before I forget, I feel like I'm going to forget if I don't mention it now, there's kind of a cool little C-plot story about Bulk and Skull and Bebop to the future, all Bebop. There was something more there. I'm weird in this one. What was I talking about? Oh yes, King Oger. You know, okay. Learn how to be a good witness. Weird in this one. Bebop and Rocksteady and Bulk and Skull had this funny interaction. They even ended up filming something with them. I thought that was fun. Kind of like they had April and Bulk and Skull interacting a couple issues ago, capitalizing on the fact that they're both journalists. This one kind of capitalizes that these are both idiot characters. And I thought that was fun. There's been some really fun little interactions like that. Anyway, the other main stuff going on is obviously the Mutant Rangers fighting, and they're kind of trying to learn how to use their bodies. Body! Splinter's helping them through it. And this was a good scene too, because I think it really shows why I like this comic, is because it's not just like, yeah, the crossover stuff is cool, like, you know, Mutant Rangers, and it could just be that, like, you know, it's just like, oh my god, bright colors and, like, you know, crossover stuff. But I like that they have, like, little bit of depth to the scenes. Like, this was cool because it was neat to see Shredder mentoring these other mutants because he has experience and he's imparting wisdom that he already has about, you know, mentoring the turtles. But it also works as kind of like good life advice. Like, there's some nice little lines in there, like about don't focus on the steps of others, only focus on like your own progress or whatever. It was nice. I feel like I'm overhyping it. What I'm just saying is I like that they can give scenes like this substance, both in terms of the things he was saying was like legit like Yoda-like life advice, but also, you know, pertained to the situation. And it was also like cool crossover-y stuff that had more meaning, like the idea of him mentoring mutant rangers and like having the perspective of mentoring previous mutants is a much cooler, deeper crossover idea than, hey, look, here's a mashup. So I really liked that. I thought that was a lot of fun. But then we lead into like the end of the issue stuff where the villains are talking about the plans, like, well, with the mutant rangers, should we gather more of our forces? And Rita's like, or I don't remember if it was Rita or Krang, but Kang? I think Kang's on my mind. I think it's Krang. It's Krang, not Kang. Anyway, Krang, I think he said like, well, not yet, because we have this plan with the Zords. And then Rita's like, of course I knew it was you the whole time. It was me, Barry. No, she knew that Casey was betraying them the whole time. And she throws Casey out a window or something like that. She's just like, and just as I fell, so falls the last Skywalker. He throws him out and his mask gets smashed. I think if I recall that preview image I talked about of the Dimension X Rangers, you see Casey with like a half mask. I think this is how he gets that. Which, if that's the case, I'll have to look it up after. That's kind of cool that he'll have like a version of his mask that represents his classic mask. But, you know, the jig is up with him. That's done. But this leads to the end cliffhanger, which is Krang taking over the Dino Megazord, which isn't all that drastic of a mashup or difference, even compared to, like, the Metalhead Megazord last time. It's just basically the Megazord with Krang in the middle and a little bit, like, corrupted looking. And I dig it. I mean, do I wish it was something maybe a little more? Sure, but I like it for what it is. I like the concept of Krang piloting the Megazord. Like, that seems like such an obvious idea. And like it's mainly just the top half that's like corrupted looking, but it kind of looks like it got like hot wired, which I kind of like that look. And I like that there was something that I didn't know about that was happening at the end of the issue. Given the fact that we're doing Dimension X Rangers, I at least have a feeling or a hope that next issue, for the last issue, we'll get a Dimension X Megazord to fight it. I think that would be pretty cool as something of a surprise. Unless they're saving it for the third one. But again, I mean, I do want a third one, but if you do a third one, you have to do it in the Season 3 era. There was ninjas! And it's Season 3! The third crossover, Season 3, ninjas? Hello, Megan! Overall, guys, I enjoyed this issue again. Again, the story's very basic, but it doesn't need to be any more complicated. I'm just enjoying the interactions and the mashup. It's just an overall solid comic that I look forward to. Please